Okay, so, fuck Powerwolf, fuck Times of Grace, fuck literally anything else coming out this weekend. With all due respect, Iron Maiden have a brand new single. The biggest metal band of all time is back. And I'd rather talk about that, so fuck it. Fuck all y'all. I don't normally review new singles or individual songs or react to them in real time like so many other metal channels do. In fact, I think I've made it pretty clear that I'm not even a huge fan of the reaction video format. I'm not knocking anyone who makes reaction videos or who watches them. It's just not my thing, plain and simple. But I feel like I have to make an exception for The Writing on the Wall from Iron Maiden, a brand new single from one of metal's most commercially and critically successful bands, and quite possibly one of the most influential and quintessential to the genre. I mean, even after 40 fucking years, they're still cranking out big fucking hits. They're still selling out stadiums, and they're still in really good shape, putting on really good shows. That's really not something we can say for a lot of other rock and metal artists that have been around as long, and in some cases, even longer. Like, Danzig can't do that, neither can Ted Nugent, neither can Motley Crue. Hell, look at Ozzy Osbourne. He might still be relatively popular, and he might still be capable of releasing some big hits, as we saw from last year's Ordinary Man, but he is in awful fucking shape. The poor fucker can't even stand up straight anymore. Meanwhile, Bruce Dickinson is doing backflips on stage and running around like some street punk on steroids. That's the power of Iron fucking Maiden in a nutshell right there. And I do not intend on ignoring that power just because Times of Grace or Powerwolf has a new album. I don't fucking care. Neither should you. Iron Maiden is back. All that matters. Okay, well, the Times of Grace record might be cool, but that's not the point. Let's talk about The Writing on the Wall. Right off the bat, it has a distinctly grisly, cold, almost Western kind of vibe and aesthetic to it. There are some very dry, battered, minimalistic acoustic guitar draws spattered throughout the beginning of this thing and throughout the rest of the track as well. Feels reminiscent of what I would expect from, like, the soundtrack to an old Clint Eastwood film, or perhaps some of the more atmospheric effects of Red Dead Redemption. As more percussion and electric guitar and more typical kind of NWOBHM style harmonies and melodies are brought into play, I can't help but be reminded of some of the darker and more metallic material from like modern Lynyrd Skynyrd. But it's still distinctly Iron Maiden, let's make that clear. Don't think for a moment that the band have suddenly turned into a country or southern rock band, because that is not the case. Something that becomes abundantly clear when Bruce Dickinson himself finally emerges and begins to croon in his signature style. A style that remains remarkably effective. I mean, you can definitely tell that Bruce is a little bit more tired than usual. Perhaps age is finally catching up to him, but for the most part, he sounds pretty good. And honestly, I could say the same for pretty much the rest of the band. I mean, this definitely doesn't have the urgency, the momentum, the unbridled enthusiasm of classic cuts like Number of the Beast or Ace is High or Run to the Hills. It doesn't even really feel as powerful or poignant as some other modern cuts like Speed of Light from the Book of Souls, but, you know, it still sounds pretty strong. There are a lot of very catchy and emotive guitar riffs and harmonies and solos all throughout the track. Iron Maiden remains one of the few metal bands, one of the few bands in any genre for that matter, to have 3 guitarists and actually utilize every single one of them. I do think that the percussion and the bass work was a little one note, a little one-dimensional, a little derivative even by the standards of Iron Maiden, but competently performed nonetheless. Like, this is pretty much what I would expect writing and performance-wise from a band of Iron Maiden's age. They have noticeably aged, but they have done so quite gracefully. They have done so with maturity and honesty. The biggest issue I probably have with this track is the actual sound mix itself. I feel like everything could just be a little bit more punchy, a little bit more dynamic, and the vocals in particular feel weirdly removed from the mix. Like, a part of me at first wondered if something was really wrong with Bruce in the studio, but re-listening to the track made me realize that somebody like actively pushed his vocals pretty far back and mixed them differently from the rest of the instrumental work. Or at least that's what I'm picking up. If anyone out there is more knowledgeable on the topic of mixing and mastering and would like to chime in, by all means, please fucking do so. I also really like the music video for this. The animation is super crisp and clean. It kind of reminds me of Metalocalypse to a certain extent, but a little bit more fluid. The very dystopian, apocalyptic imagery reminds me a lot of Mad Max, with maybe just a dash of Fallout sprinkled ever so gently over top. The fact that there's actually like a full-fledged story to this entire song kind of makes me wonder if the album itself, assuming it's on the way, I guess it hasn't been officially announced, but we all know it's coming, so fuck it. Makes me wonder if it's going to be a concept album, which would be pretty cool, kind of ambitious, again, considering Iron Maiden's age. This is a band that could probably get away with just making a hard rock album, and I don't think anyone would complain or object too loudly. I don't know, it's not amazing. It's probably a pretty predictable cut, all things considered. But it's fun, it's well made, I enjoyed it, I'll listen to it a couple more times, and it does exactly what a teaser, what a single should do. It gets me excited for the next album. So with that in mind, I would give the song itself like a really enthusiastic 3 out of 5. It probably wouldn't change your mind if you outright hated Iron Maiden, but that being said, I don't really know a lot of metalheads, or for that matter, a lot of rock fans that do outright hate Iron Maiden, so I do not picture that being a gigantic obstacle for anyone. And that's kinda it for me, I think. Yeah. Probably. I don't fucking know. I guess I'll go find out now, won't I? Let me know what you think of the brand new Iron Maiden track. Did you like it? Are you pumped for the new album? Are you not pumped for the new album? More importantly, what would you like to hear from me next? Because I don't fucking know. I can't read your goddamn mind. Even if I could, it's way too goddamn early in the morning for that fucking bullshit. Press this button right here to subscribe so you can get updates on the Metal Meltdown immediately in case you somehow aren't already. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.